Police say around 3 a.m., gunshots were heard in the area of Princess and Water Street. They found a 21-year-old suffering a gunshot wound who says she was shot by a female driving by. A second victim later arrived at New Hanover Regional Medical Center. Both victims have non-life-threatening injuries. 21-year-old Tatiana Green was arrested and charged with shooting from a vehicle and discharging a firearm in the city limits. She is being held without bond. Also in New Hanover County, several groups gathered in Wilmington over the weekend to celebrate a monumental part of history for Black Americans. The Juneteenth festival included music, food, Black art, and culture at the MLK Community Center. June 19, 1865 is the day soldiers landed in Galveston, Texas, and announced an end to the institution of slavery 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. This is the first time in 2 years the community was able to physically gather together to celebrate. And the town of Leland is celebrating the official opening of a new fire station. Station 53 on Old Lanville Road has been open for a couple of weeks and is now Leland's third fully staffed fire station. It will help the town increase its public safety to keep up with continued growth in the area. Battalion Chief Chris Miranda says the station's location will allow firefighters to respond more quickly. For more on these stories, you can head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
Happy Monday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. It is the final day of spring in the northern hemisphere, and our temperatures are going to climb into the upper 80s, which is right where we should be for this time of year. Coastal areas will get into the middle 80s later today. Low humidity in store for us. Get outside at some point on this Monday. Low and risk rip currents for eastern and southern facing beaches. We're expecting plenty of sunshine and quiet conditions throughout the day today, and as for tonight, our temperatures fall down to the middle and the upper 60s. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com. Listen to Tom Goolsby on The Chad Adams Show.
People with common sense know that the entire theory of socialism is one big lie.
The Big Talker 106.7 FM.
Folks, the sad truth of it is most of what we're seeing in the news cycle is just noise, and it's recycled noise at that. Nothing informative, nothing that actually helps us discern the times that we live in. That's why we started doing Herd Tell. Every morning right here on Big Talker Network, 7 a.m. with a replay at 3 p.m., we talk and discuss the issues of the day, culture and politics with knowledgeable guests, no yelling, no caterwauling, just grown folk talk about the issues that matter. Join me, Andrew Donaldson, every weekday morning for Herd Tell.
Watch out! You got me!
The galaxy is safe once again.
In the pretend universe, kids play with pretend guns. In the real world, it's up to us to make sure they don't get their hands on a real gun. If you have a gun in the house, keep it locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Hey, welcome back to the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad. Right here on the Big Talker Network, bigtalker.live. Please visit the website, peruse our schedule of content. Download the app for Android and iOS devices. You'll love it. It's a way of life. And if you pair it with your automobile's entertainment center system, you may take the Big Talker anywhere and everywhere you need to be. And I promise, it's a way of life. And welcome to the Monday. Yes, my special guest co-host, Mr. Chad Adams, has not appeared yet. He will shortly. If not, I am sure he is going to hear about it. We are scheduled to spend the entire week this morning co-hosting and meeting the various guests, many of whom we already know, and many we're going to be introducing ourselves to. So, with that in mind, there we go. So, to start your Monday Asylum off right, I thought we would do a little Little news on massacres. By massacres, I mean like Skyrim and I don't even League of Legends, and I don't even know them all. I can't play games. I suck at it. However, I do know that video games is one of the largest sectors in software, right? I mean, enough people have Excel, for Christ's sake. Like they're just giving it away. But the gaming side of things is something you can't ignore, and this is coming out of newsbreak.com. I have Lincoln, Nebraska by Santher Ibrahim. Quote, "We regret to inform you that we all quit." GameStop staff leaves a savage note. "These GameStop workers aren't playing any games." I need to change this. There we go. A Nebraska store, right, of the video game chain was forced to close after 4 employees walked out claiming bad working conditions. The foursome left a nefarious note at the Gateway Mall in Lincoln, Nebraska for customers, informing them of the termination of their employment. The memo was taped to the store's window and said, "We regret to inform you that we all quit." According to Reddit, "Our district manager has no respect for us as employees or as human beings," the note continued. "We have been told by our district manager that we were supposed to have had this store achieving sales quotas and running perfectly months ago," which was months before a lot of us even got hired, unfortunately, due to the staff's best efforts. Despite the staff's best efforts, we are not God, they went on. "Spend your money at an establishment that respects its employees," the statement added. How's that? Former store manager Frank Maurer further elaborated on the walkout, telling Kotaku, "For my health, I had to leave." Maurer also claimed he was expected to reach almost impossible sales goals while being paid a low wage. He alleged that his district manager was reportedly abusive toward him and Maurer. And Maurer didn't receive proper store training. GameStop had another slew of employees quit in Lincoln, Nebraska earlier this year, news.com.au reported. And another store under the same district manager shuttered its doors after a walkout. GameStop had a meteoric rise in popularity thanks to Redditors who pushed the stock to new heights and helped raise the company's value in sales. The highest stock price for GameStop was $483. But with any rise comes a fall, as the brand's stocks have continued to plummet. So I'm guessing they're not doing so good, and, there's a commonality here. If you treat your employees like crap, they will not stay. Yeah, just check your own history. Anywhere and everywhere you want to be, there it is. So if you're wanting to play a game and you're in Lincoln, Nebraska, I tell you what, your best option is probably online at the moment. And it is unfortunate, but this GameStop seems to be a reflection of the rest of the universe happening at the moment. Here's one that's fun. I had to share this one with a buddy last night. If any of you have been shopping for bananas recently, you could be in for a massive, cool surprise. Coming out of Newser.com, Evan Gastaldo, a Newser staff, Oops, an $83 million worth of cocaine sent to supermarkets. How's that? And it just depends on where you're at. Supermarkets in the Czech Republic got a little more than they bargained for in their banana shipments last week. $83 million worth of cocaine. Police were alerted after grocery workers started discovering blocks of pressed cocaine in with the fruit. Ultimately, 1,851 pounds were found. Whoa, reported from Newsweek. The crates of bananas originated in Colombia, and the drugs were meant to be intercepted, but were delivered to the grocery stores before they could be. The information about the shipment leads outside the Czech Republic. Therefore, we will use international police and justice cooperation, police said in a statement per Reuters. That's nearly a ton. 1,851 pounds, that's like 149 pounds. Oh, I mean, that's about how much, no, that's actually more than I weigh. So me soaking wet, fully dressed, would fill out a ton Holy cow. This week, anti-narcotics police in Colombia found 2,866, so that's over a pound. That's almost, or a ton. That's almost a ton and a half of cocaine disguised as potatoes and yucca. This is reported by Reuters. The drugs were seized before being shipped from the port of Cartagena in Spain, 9 News reports. This may be the most innovative case discovered by drug traffickers in recent years. They had designed the drug in irregular molds, simulating croquet of cassava and papa criolla. The police official says a tipster alerted authorities to the drugs. The cooperation and support of the people who manage the maritime terminals in the country has been fundamental. We will continue working together to find those responsible and discover who is behind this shipment, the police official says. So yeah, grocery shopping can be like hitting the lottery, right? I mean, it's not like you need to do anything, but you could retire on a brick. I don't know, that's amazing. Absolutely amazing. I mean, they're getting crazy, getting creative. But if you're really wanting to make money in the quick, we're going to step back a bit. And we're going to step forward. We're going to be like that time traveler in the brain, right? So, if anybody remembers Biff Tannen, I think it was. Wasn't that his name? Biff Tannen. That's right. Biff Tannen. This is going to rock you. If you remember Biff Tannen. Biff Tannen was the character who bought the sports, or got, how did he, I can't remember how, but he like snagged somebody's sports score books, like all the Super Bowl games over the past 150 years or something like that, or 50 years or whatever. And then Biff Tannen uses that to make himself rich by betting on games he knows he can't lose, right? Because they've already been played. Oh, this is all written by my friend Ben Hooper. So here we go. Anybody remember VHS? Video Hot Shot. No. VHS copy of Back to the Future auctioned for $75,000. Ladies and gentlemen, Biff Tannen. June 15th, according to UPI, a VHS copy of Back to the Future was sold for $75,000 by a Dallas-based auction house. Heritage Auctions said the 1986 VHS tape from the collection of Back to the Future star Tom Wilson, I don't know if he was the star, but okay, fetched the high bid from a New York-based collector. Sorry, I misread that. The tape, not Scotch tape. But anyway, the tape was in its original shrink wrap and rated near mint by experts, the auction house said. The final price is believed to be the highest sum ever paid for a VHS tape. The tape was auctioned alongside other vintage VHS tapes from the collection of Wilson, who played Biff Tannen and other members of the Tannen family across time in the Back to the Future trilogy. Wilson's copy of Back to the Future Part 2 sold for $16,250, and his Back to the Future Part 3 VHS fetched a high bid of $13,750. His 1990 Back to the Future box set sold for $10,000. This is the first box set sent out from the studio of the Back to the Future trilogy, Heritage Auctions quoted Wilson as saying. The urge to open the shrink wrap, to me was nearly unbearable because not only does it include Back to the Future 1 and 2 and Mint, but also the documentary Secrets of the Back to the Future trilogy. Ooh. The auction house said each tape came with a note written by Wilson, and the actor offered to sign the containers for the tapes for winning bidders. It's going to be legible. The guy doesn't have Parkinson's, right? So he'll be able to sign his name. Marty McFly is going to have to dictate it. Poor bastard. And I still think it was his, the girlfriend mom that really stole that show. Not that I can remember her name, but that hairstyle, never going to be replaced. I promise. That's going to stay with you forever like some bad luggage. Okay, I said it. Luggage. We had a spot a moment ago. Where was it? I think it was just before the news. I mean, I heard it, so I know it's on here. There it is. They call it suitcase. Foster care, adoption, this entire infrastructure designed to help children find loving homes and caring parents, right, can sometimes be a shuffle from one foster home to the next because sometimes foster kids don't get along. Sometimes, the parenting doesn't, any number of reasons. So they get shuffled from home to home. And usually they're given a hefty bag, a trash bag, which sends really ugly messages to the child that, here's a trash bag for your crap. Pack up and get out. We're going to move you. So I've done this. I did this actually about 15 years ago. I donated 3 very nice suitcases to the foster care. Two of them went to Louisville, Kentucky's. I don't even remember the name of the organization, but they had a pretty big push on it, and I happened to have a couple of extras that I wasn't using. And then a third one was actually given directly to the child as I saw them leaving the house in a trash bag full of stuff. And I said, you know what? I got a bag better than that. And I emptied it out in the back of my car and handed it to them. And they said, hey, you're reusing this. And I said, yeah, but I got a car. You have a trash bag. This is a good trade. So if you have a suitcase you're not using, consider letting a child use it to try and get further in their life. I mean, this was Father's Day, and it was a celebration for many, but a painful reminder for others. And I guess that's true for just about every holiday. And as soon as we can develop some sense of understanding or empathy, we should be able to communicate and bring that kind of information with us anywhere and everywhere we would like to go. But that takes some dedication. It takes some commitment. Much like fostering children. And it's a rough job, man. I mean, these kids have already been through something more painful than you can ever imagine. And we're just trying to do what we can to help them out. And I don't think it's too much to ask to, if anybody's got an extra suitcase, yeah, man, help them out. Because I know I was lucky, kind of. I mean, I was adopted into the one house. And I didn't get the option to go anywhere else because it wasn't a foster home. It was like, hey, here's your new place. Believe me, I wish I had a suitcase then. I would have figured it out a lot sooner. Anyway, Fox News 32 Chicago, Fox News digital team. Of course, nobody's going to take credit for this one because, Fox. But anyway, the story is going to be fun in a way because it didn't happen to me. It didn't happen to you, so it's funny to us. But if it happens to you, it's not funny. Otherwise, this is something to take into consideration. Man sues American Airlines after mistaken identity lands him in jail for 17 days. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. His entire vacation was thwarted. A man mistakenly identified as the suspect who stole from a store in Dallas airport spent 17 days in a New Mexico jail without knowing why. And his lawyer says it's because American Airlines sent the wrong photo to police. According to a lawsuit filed against American Airlines in May 2020, Dallas-Fort Worth Air Force Police were investigating a burglary and found video showing the suspect board a flight to Reno, Nevada when investigators served a search warrant to American Airlines requesting any and all travel information for passengers on that particular flight. The airline reportedly sent information for only one man, Mr. Michael Lowe, a professional outdoorsman and career guide from Flagstaff, Arizona. Lowe was not the culprit, but the information the airline sent to police was enough for them to issue an arrest warrant on charges of felony burglary and misdemeanor criminal mischief, court documents state. More than a year later, Lowe was picked up on those warrants while attending a July 4th celebration with friends in Tucumcari, New Mexico. One of my... That's a beautiful place. He spent the next 17 days in a crowded jail cell, alternating between sleeping on a concrete floor and a metal bunk. His lawyer said no one told him why he was behind bars, even when he saw a judge 8 days after his arrest. I'd sue everybody involved. In 25 years of practicing, I've never seen anything this egregious, Scott Palmer, one of his attorneys, told Fox television stations. It's hard to imagine anything more terrifying than being jailed for 17 days without a clue as to why or for how long you would be in there. According to the lawsuit, when Lowe was finally released, he had to buy a Greyhound bus ticket and walk miles to be picked up. The bus broke down, turning a 12-hour trip into a 2-day journey home. Damn, they should have named you Job. Holy cow. Upon stepping through the threshold of his home, Mr. Lowe allowed himself to sob until he could no longer stand. Eventually, Lowe was able to hire an attorney and get the charges against him dropped. A detective in Texas compared Lowe's mugshot to the photos of the burglary suspect and concluded the American sent information on the wrong passenger. As required by law, American cooperates with and responds to court orders for information related to possible criminal activity, and that's what we did in this instance when we were presented with a search warrant, an American Airlines spokesman said in the lawsuit. Lowe, meanwhile, had been living in fear that cannot be rationalized away, his lawyer said. When shopping, he can become preoccupied with worry over whether he forgot to pay for something, the lawsuit says. The sight of a patrol car now produces a state of anxiety, and his interactions with the National Park Service police, previously always friendly, are now hurried through as contact with any law enforcement produces too great a panic response. You think? American Airlines has an absolute duty to its passengers, and we hope to change Americans' practice in regards to how it responds to search warrants so that no one else ever has to live through Michael's nightmare, Palmer said. In the absence of a change in procedures, any passenger is one misstep away from having their entire lives turned upside down. And I'd rather they do it that way than in the plane itself. A plane does not land upside down very well. However, I think Michael here needs to go after everybody. I think he needs to go after the law enforcement people. The judge who didn't even tell him why he was in there. Yeah, I hope this guy doesn't have to work a day in his life. And if you're going to, the whole face your fear, right? Bruce Willis, Live Free, Die Hard. That whole section was hilarious. But along those lines, right, if you're going to try and overcome your fear, I think becoming a police officer would be a great way to do that. That'd be awesome. I mean, after 3 weeks in jail in a crowded... And the thing is, jail and prison are two different things, right? Jail is a holding tank. And jail is where they put everybody that they haven't prosecuted or indicted yet, so they just hang out, and these are all the people that have been in the same clothes for 17 days, right? I mean, all the showers you want, you put on the same nappy underwear after 2 weeks, and you're just not going to be, how would you say, aromatically unoffensive. So, yeah, good job, American Airlines. I mean, anybody who gets on an airplane these days is just fresh out of their mind. I mean, I know people going on vacation in other parts of the country, but All right. Well, more or less the first half hour of the show has gone by. And, well, we're going to have another chunk of asylum-friendly news coming up shortly. So, you know, do yourself a favor. Hang around. Call up every one of our sponsors and thank them for being a sponsor. I mean, you don't have to, but it'd be cool. It would be cool if you did. But anyway, otherwise, and in other worlds, yeah, don't go nowhere. The Asylum, be right back. Don't go nowhere.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. Foul play is not suspected in the weekend death of a Wilmington man at Carolina Beach. Officers were dispatched Saturday afternoon in reference to a man not breathing. Bystanders had already pulled the man out of the water, and life-saving measures were unsuccessful. The man has been identified as 33-year-old Ricky Lee Hyde. His official cause of death is still under investigation. In Wilmington, one person is in custody following a shooting Sunday morning that sent 2 people to the hospital. Police say around 3 a.m., gunshots were heard in the area of Princess and Water Street. They found a 21-year-old suffering a gunshot wound who says she was shot by a female driving by. A second victim later arrived at New Hanover Regional Medical Center. Both victims have non-life-threatening injuries. 21-year-old Tatiana Green was arrested and charged with shooting from a vehicle and discharging a firearm in the city limits. She is being held without bond. Also in New Hanover County, several groups gathered in Wilmington over the weekend to celebrate a monumental part of history for Black Americans. The Juneteenth festival included music, food, Black art, and culture at the MLK Community Center. June 19, 1865 is the day soldiers landed in Galveston, Texas, and announced an end to the institution of slavery 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. This is the first time in 2 years the community was able to physically gather together to celebrate. And the town of Leland is celebrating the official opening of a new fire station. Station 53 on Old Lanville Road has been open for a couple of weeks and is now Leland's third fully staffed fire station. It will help the town increase its public safety to keep up with continued growth in the area. Battalion Chief Chris Miranda says the station's location will allow firefighters to respond more quickly. For more on these stories, you can head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
Happy Monday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. It is the final day of spring in the northern hemisphere, and our temperatures are going to climb into the upper 80s, which is right where we should be for this time of year. Coastal areas will get into the middle 80s later today. Low humidity in store for us. Get outside at some point on this Monday. Low and risk rip currents for eastern and southern facing beaches. We're expecting plenty of sunshine and quiet conditions throughout the day today. And as for tonight, our temperatures fall down to the middle and the upper 60s. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by 2 Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to 2menandatruck.com. 2menandatruck.com.
Our founders expected judges to apply, not make, our laws. I'm Trey Allen, conservative candidate for the North Carolina Supreme Court. More than 20 years ago, I began my legal career by joining the Marine Corps and taking an oath to support and defend the United States Constitution. As a justice on our state Supreme Court, I will continue to protect the Constitution by basing my rulings on the founders' intent, not my personal views. Paid for by Trey Allen for Justice.
Folks, the sad truth of it is most of what we're seeing in the news cycle is just noise, and it's recycled noise at that. Nothing informative, nothing that actually helps us discern the times that we live in. That's why we started doing Heard Tell. Every morning right here on Big Talker Network, 7 a.m. with a replay at 3 p.m., we talk and discuss the issues of the day, culture and politics with knowledgeable guests, no yelling, no caterwauling, just grown folk talk about the issues that matter. Join me, Andrew Donaldson, every weekday morning for Heard Tell.
O'Leary's Automotive Repair has multiple locations in the area in Hampstead, Leland, the Myrtle Grove area, Ogden, and Wrightsboro. O'Leary's Automotive Repair, a trusted, locally owned business since 2006.
Welcome back to the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad. Right here on the Big Talker Network. BigTalker.live is the website. You should already be there following along and enjoying the Big Talker right here on the YouTube, the Facebook, the Twitters, all that good stuff. That's right. Subscribe, like, share, and link and all that good stuff. And hey, thanks for doing that. That is amazing. Again, we are the radio station. We are the morning program unlike any others. It is 8:30 in the morning, and I still don't have Mr. Chad Adams joining me. I have not heard from him. I hope he's okay. Anyway, we will continue with more of the News that is worthy of the asylum. How's that sound? And to do that, we are going to go to one of my favorite websites, The Smoking Gun. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, The Smoking Gun. Who wrote this one? I don't see any credit. No, but it did come down June 16. What's in a name, right? What's in a name like Rose? Whether it's for a person or a plant or anything else, right? I mean, what's in the name? Well, how about a man named Le Genius? Yeah, okay. We're gonna play a little guessing game. 3 guesses. Where does Mr. Le Genius live? I'll give you a hint. It's in an English-speaking, the largest English-speaking country on the planet. How's that? I'll give you the country. Now you tell me the state. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, on the first try. I didn't even have to tell you the country. It's Florida. That's right. Mr. Le Genius arrested again for some really dumb stuff. That's the head of the what do they call that? A headline? Perhaps a name change is in order for Le Genius Williams. Your mom was definitely not one of them either. Not a Mensa candidate. The 22-year-old Floridian, who has already served prison time for attempted murder and robbery, is back behind bars on an assortment of felony gun and drug charges following his arrest Monday night. This would have been a week ago. Police allege that Le Genius Williams struck his girlfriend in the face with a handgun and then fled the St. Petersburg crime scene in a Chevy driven by another man. That other man, this is commentary, that other man has to be pissed. He probably had no idea what he was getting into, right? Le Genius just called him up. Yo, man, let's roll down to the club. I'm going to hop into the ride on the squeaky door side. And then cops performed a pit maneuver to stop the vehicle and then arrested Williams and the driver. A search of the car uncovered a pair of loaded firearms as well as cocaine and fentanyl, according to court filing. In the mugshot, Williams was booked into the county jail for aggravated domestic battery, drug trafficking, narcotics possession, and weapons offenses. He is being held in lieu of $77,000 bond. Really, after that litany, it's only $77,000. I mean, the boy should be able to... Oh, that's right. He doesn't own his house. He lives with mommy. In 2013, when Williams was... See, I have a child this age. And this is what's really scary, all right? In 2013, when Williams was 13, he was arrested for shooting a 15-year-old boy. He was subsequently sentenced to 8 years in prison for attempted murder as well as an unrelated robbery charge. 5 months after his release from state prison in late 2020, Williams was arrested for cocaine possession, driving without a license, and illegally possessing a handgun. He was freed last February on $12,000 bond. The 2021 case is pending, and a judge this week revoked Williams' bond in light of his latest arrest. Isn't that amazing? Le Genius is definitely not French for smart guy. Florida man. I don't even think he hits Florida. I mean, I don't think he hits man. Sorry, Florida is... It's disgusting. It's DeSantis. I'm kidding. That's just bad jokes. So much for that. Oh, yesterday was Father's Day and Juneteenth and Sunday. I don't know how the rest of you celebrated. I was on the island. I was having me a blast. I was having a good old time out there on the Bald Head Island. They make this stuff. Man, if you ever get a chance to just have dinner on the island, I recommend you do. We were at Shoals Club. I think they call it Latitudes or something like that. And they make this incredible burger. I'm a burger guy. I'm not a big seafood guy, especially shrimp. Do you all not realize that shrimp are basically insects? They're bugs. So if you're going to eat a shrimp, you should not have a problem eating a cockroach. Because a shrimp is basically an underwater cockroach. All right? So just keep that in mind the next time you suck down a dead shrimp, prawn. Oh, man. Amazing. Ooh, what's interesting is apparently Juneteenth isn't really a holiday, but it kind of is. I mean, that could be what Chad's going on, right? Hey, it's Juneteenth. How did my calendar put it? I got to pull up my calendar because my calendar is absolutely moronic about this. Come on, calendar. Here we go. Come on. Almost. There we go. Substitute. Yeah, yesterday was Juneteenth, and today is Juneteenth substitute. Isn't that awesome? Substitute. So yeah, as long as you're enjoying the substitute day, that must be what Chad's doing. Oi. Washington, D.C. This one popped while I was still standing in line for one of the boats. Boy 15, this is coming from NBC News. 15-year-old boy killed 3 people injured in shooting after unpermitted event, D.C. authorities say. The wounded, including a police officer who was shot in the leg, were stable, officials said. The festival celebrates district-born go-go music. Oh, this is going to be fun. It wasn't a rap artist? Okay. A 15-year-old boy was killed and a police officer was among 3 other people who were injured. Yeah, that was weird. When someone opened fire in a crowd after an unpermitted music gathering Sunday night in Washington, D.C., authorities said. The 3 surviving victims, including a Metropolitan Police Department officer, were stabilized at medical facilities, officials said at an evening news conference. The officer was shot in a leg, Chief Robert Conti said. The attack was the work of one person, not in custody, who opened fire as police were clearing the area. Oh, not in custody, who opened fire as police were clearly in the area. Conti said he did not indicate that the officer was specifically targeted, noting only... Man, this is some rough English. Noting only that the street was crowded. He did not indicate that the officer was specifically targeted, noting only that the street was crowded. Okay, there's an extra word in there. The violence was reported near 14th and U Streets Northwest, authorities said. It was near an event called Mochella, which celebrates go-go, a genre of music that originated and is still popular in Washington. Well, yeah, when everybody in your constituent, or if everybody in your state is over the age of 80 and a representative and wants to do something stupid like drink and dance and molest others or harass, badger, or otherwise, anyway. Conti indicated that police were patrolling the festival and its aftermath in abundant numbers with more than 100 officers assigned to the area. Mochella founder Justin Johnson, also known as Yadiya, didn't immediately respond to a request for comment. He's a noted artist, activist, and go-go booster. I've never heard of him. Last year, a photo book he helped curate, Long Live Go-Go, the Movement, was published as a celebration of the percussive sound. The genre's most famous single, Da Butt by Experience Unlimited, was featured in Spike Lee's second film, School Days. Now, the event itself is widely known in music circles, and it was mentioned in the city's alternative weekly newspaper, City Peeper. On Thursday, the District of Columbia's Housing Finance Agency, a federal entity, is featured on a Mochella flyer as a supporter. A spokesman for the agency didn't immediately respond to a request for comment. In June 2020, a D.C. council member, Robert White, said he marched with Johnson during a Black Lives Matter demonstration, noting that Johnson is the leader of the group associated with Mochella Long Live Go-Go. In 2018, the city's Department of Parks and Recreation boasted that it had hosted a Mochella event it described as a festival filled with gardening activities, craft building workshops, and live performances by local artists for students. According to a department performance report that included accomplishments and goals, it wasn't clear whether the unidentified teenager who died in the shooting was later targeted. Don't know. Conte, the chief, said crowded sidewalks and streets and too many guns create conditions for such violence. When things spill out into the streets, he said, that becomes a problem. He said officers in the area seized multiple illegal guns on Sunday. Conte said police will look into the origins of the event and why it allegedly was able to take place without city approval. We'll be having those conversations with the Office of the Attorney General of Washington, he said. Mayor Muriel Bowser appeared somewhat astonished at the brazen actions of the shooter with officers in the area. We have a child who was killed today at an event that did not have any proper planning for the number of people who were here. We need some accountability, she said. Accountability, that's an interesting term coming from a government employee. Now, okay, so if Mochella is an official name and it's an official movement and people are actually doing stuff on behalf or sponsoring this, then yeah, it should have been permitted. But there have been situations like that slew where there was 20 mass shootings inside of a week around the time of the NRA convention. All across the country. Many of those were just people in their backyard celebrating graduation, right? They don't need a permit to just have a barbecue in their backyard. What accountability is that? Well, what accountability is there for that? I mean, think about it. You're going to a barbecue at a friend's backyard, somebody opens fire, and they're going to blame you for not having a permit? What the hell is that about? And apparently it was already a pretty, laissez-faire kind of thing if there was already 100 cops walking around, and they still missed him. Right? I mean, they were able to locate the dude in the Las Vegas guy at the concert, right? I mean, there was 1,000 windows, and they found him in a heartbeat. But this kid, or whoever it was that shot this poor kid, damn. Still can't find him. And I related this story to a friend of mine, and I read the headline that, Washington, D.C., mass shooting, 1 dead, 3 injured. And she's like, where? And I said, Washington, D.C. Where? Washington, D.C. Where in Washington? How big is Washington? Washington itself is not much bigger than Holly Ridge. It's just there's a lot more stupid people in that square, They aren't... The housing situation in Washington, D.C. is ludicrous. That's why there's no poor people or people with actual, life experience, right? I mean, can you imagine Mitch McConnell ever opening his own drink? Right? That just doesn't happen. I don't think that boy has ever had a meal cooked at a home. No, he just goes to restaurants and then puts it on the expense tab and has his campaign, or us, pay for it, right? I mean, why do these people have a salary? Everything about their lives is already paid for, right? Their transportation is paid for, their food is paid for, their lodging is paid for, everything is paid for. Why are they paid? What do they need money for? From us, right? I mean, they already have more money than God, and everything else is paid for. So it's not like they're getting anything from us to, I don't know. That's just... Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And I'm sorry for the folks who have tuned in to catch Mr. Chad Adams and his indomitable style of morning radio. I myself am waiting for him, and we can just, we can wait together. If only, like Apple Annie's or something was nearby, we could at least have a snack while waiting. I brought coffee, but that's, that's a very personal thing, really. Not everybody enjoys Colombian French press coffee. That's only because you're wrong. Okay? Oh, hey, here's a friend of, look at this. Yeah, somebody had to remind me. LeGenius has a buddy in Florida. He got a deal from the police. Still nobody taking credit for this one. There is a new plea deal for a man who asked cops to test his meth. Florida man, 41, was worried dealer actually sold him bath salts. Yes. Smoking gun never fails me. June 16, the Florida man who gave police 2 baggies of methamphetamine and asked them to test the stash for him will have to perform community service and refrain from using alcohol and drugs as part of a deal with prosecutors, according to court records. Thomas Colucci, 41, this month entered into a pretrial intervention contract that defers his prosecution for possession of meth and drug paraphernalia. The contract requires Colucci to perform 25 hours of community service standing on his head. I'm kidding, 25 hours of community service and pay around $700 in court costs and fees. The testing of the drugs was free, by the way. Just letting you know that. Additionally, Colucci is prohibited from visiting bars and consuming or possessing illegal drugs. He will also be drug tested monthly and must submit to urinalysis, breathalyzer, or blood test as requested by probation officials, according to the contract filed in court this week. That's going to work because we know everybody honors a contract. If Colucci successfully completes his pre-trial supervision, the case against him could be dismissed. However, if he were to violate the terms of the contract, Colucci could be tried on felony and misdemeanor counts. Colucci, as seen on this webpage I am staring at, was arrested in March after calling police to say that he wanted law enforcement to test meth he had purchased from a drug dealer named JJ, whom he had met at a bar near his Tampa area residence. When cops arrived at Colucci's home, he handed over 2 baggies containing a crystalline substance. After using some of the drug, Colucci explained he became concerned that JJ sold him bath salts, the synthetic stimulant, not meth. Colucci, cops reported, said he was a drug addict who had consumed meth in the past and knows what meth should feel like, noting that the substance he ingested did not leave a burning sensation. Colucci added that he believed that the meth was actually bath salt from a Google search that he conducted, according to a police report. Colucci said he then dialed 911 because he did not want other users to purchase fake meth from JJ. Colucci, who did not know his dealer's real name, told police that he wanted JJ in trouble because he believed that the drugs that JJ was selling were dangerous. Whoa. I guess I need a definition of dangerous. Because I thought meth was pretty dangerous, but apparently not. Apparently what JJ's selling is more dangerous. I mean, oh my God, a field test of the substance handed over by Colucci positively identified the presence of methamphetamine, investigators noted. See? I told you, the testing was free. But he's going to have to pay $700 for the courts to put up with his crap. But, I mean, think about it. If he hadn't have been so forthcoming, right? Like, if he had been in a car and tried to get away from the cops and then the cops stopped him, he would have been, like, face down in the dirt. But since he was smart enough to say, hey, this could be a bad thing. What he should have done was gone back to the bar and, struck up a conversation with JJ and then said, hey, anybody who's buying drugs from JJ here needs to know he's selling bad drugs. And then everybody gets arrested. But here we are. Oh, here's one. I'm one for Tex-Mex food all day long. I grew up in New Mexico. I am one of the few people native English, or wait a minute, one of the fluent English-speaking New Mexico native-born folks. So I'm familiar with much of what the experience can be like. However, I didn't have half the problems. Another buster here coming out of TMZ, or excuse me, Smoking Gun. Suspect offers new age explanation for trespassing at closed Mexican eatery. I don't know the restaurant yet, but come on now. Have you ever craved a taco at 2 a.m, Taco Bell closed, and you're like, damn. Taco would be crucial right now, and man, a trespassing suspect. Oy, there's a lot of quotes in this one. So, a trespassing suspect with, quote, his pants open and genitals exposed, end quote, explained to Florida police that he was, quote, doing a chant and was cleansing himself spiritually when he was discovered at 2:15 in the morning on the premises of a closed Mexican restaurant, according to a court filing. Cops say that Kenneth Gray, not the guy from 50 Shades, but no, this guy's 29 years old, tripped a silent alarm after jumping a fence early Monday at the Red Mesa Cantina. That should be Mesa Roja Cantina in St. Petersburg, Florida. When officers arrived at the restaurant, Gray was seated inside a fenced area near the outdoor bar with his pants opened and genitals exposed. Gray was detained and subsequently charged with loitering and prowling, a misdemeanor. I guess he got the taco for free. After being read his rights, Gray reportedly acknowledged trespassing and told police he was, quote, doing a chant and was cleansing himself spiritually. Gray is locked up in lieu of a $250 bond. I'm guessing the boy is not has not cleansed himself financially. If he can't come up with a $250 bond and has been ordered to stay away from the restaurant, his rap sheet includes prior convictions for trespassing, obstructing police, and possession of an open container of alcohol. It's kind of like fireworks. It's okay to own it, but until you do something with it, you're in trouble. I always thought that was weird. And of course, my first time in New Orleans, and I just spent, like $10 on a hurricane or some noise, and yeah, I really don't drink, so this thing was going to take me 3-4 hours easily to drink. I don't think I ever finished it. But the lady I was with wanted to go to another bar. I started walking and about to hand down my glass, and the bouncer dude's like, no, you can take it. I said, excuse me? They won't let you do that during Derby in Louisville, Kentucky. What the hell you mean I can just take the drink with me? Oh, yeah. Enjoy. What? It's weird, right? You're sitting in this club. Well, you can't sit because there's nowhere to sit. It's like 1,000 people standing in this little bar courtyard area. And everybody's got a glass from different clubs. It was really surreal. That just does not happen in the real world, I guess. Or in my world, I just don't get out that much because I'm always working. And when I'm working, I really don't drink because there's usually thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and millions and billions of dollars worth of equipment for which I am being entrusted. Therefore, I don't drink that much. So when I was stumbling around the French Quarter in New Orleans, I had all kinds of first experiences, right? Like people just saying, here, let me top that off for you. They don't even know what's in it. They're just pouring liquor in. Like, my God, is this thing flammable? Felt like I was drinking a Molotov at some point. Oh, another buster. This one's going to be funny. Please tell me. No. Disappointment abounds already. This one comes out of California. Cops are saying a man hid camera in a Starbucks bathroom and filmed 45 women and children. Oh, this guy is just a... Velasco. Let's see, no name on this one. California man placed a hidden camera inside a Starbucks bathroom and filmed dozens of unsuspecting women and children, according to police. The camera was disguised as a coat hook and affixed to a wall adjacent to a toilet for 2 days last month. William Zafra Velasco, 25, was arrested earlier this month by Glendora Police Department. Police department officers who executed search warrants at the San Dimas home of the unemployed student. Detectives examining Velasco's computers discovered disturbing video of at least 45 female victims using the restroom, including children, according to investigators. Velasco was charged with secretly videotaping 45 victims for sexual gratification. Free on the $50,000 bail, he is scheduled for a June 21 Superior Court appearance. Cops do not believe that the bathroom videos were uploaded to the internet or distributed in any other fashion. In addition to the video, the surveillance device was equipped to record sound after the camera was discovered by a Starbucks employee. Police were summoned to the restaurant where they photographed the device. Evidence photos here and here show the hook on a wall next to a sink. A third photo shows the view from the hidden camera's vantage point. Police identified Velasco following a review of Starbucks surveillance video showing him entering the cafe over a 2-day period last month. Police allege Velasco would enter the bathroom every hour and remove the camera. He would then go to his car, download his videos to his laptop. He would then return to the bathroom and affix the coat hook to the wall. Man. For the amount of energy and devious and everything else that was involved for him to get that kind of joy, you could have, led the entire AI section of Google. Well, I tell you what, it's 9 o'clock. We're going to take a bit of a news break. Still no Chad Adams. We might have other guests. I don't know. Other than that, I'm just going to keep having fun with some of the news around the world because... My God. Well, not even around the world. We haven't even left the country yet. Well, except for the cocaine looking like potatoes. So with that in mind, please visit the Big Talker website. Download the Android and iOS device app for Android and iOS devices. What else can you do? You can go to the Big Talker website, bigtalker.live, peruse our schedule of content. And I tell you what, show some support for the people supporting the Big Talker. And yeah, we'll be right back after these messages and stuff. Don't go nowhere.
Keeping Ocean Isle informed. The Big Talker 106.7 FM WFBT, Carolina Beach.
Teachers and parents, the North Carolina Symphony is here to support you as you carry on the education of your children and students. Take your kids on a free virtual field trip to the Symphony with a virtual education concert and companion student book. Go on a virtual journey to learn what makes music music with music by William Grant Still, Beethoven, Brahms, and more. Access the free video and student book with password 1932 at ncsymphony.org/virtual.
Hi, this is Justin Humphreys from the Humphreys Law Firm on Eastwood Road. The Humphreys Law Firm is located in Lumina Station, Wilmington, North Carolina, practices civil litigation, intellectual property, commercial, and residential real estate. Please give us a call at 910-332-0721 or visit us on our website, which is www.humphreysfirm.law. You can also listen to me every Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. on the Big Talker 106.7 FM.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. Foul play is not suspected in the weekend death of a Wilmington man at Carolina Beach. Officers were dispatched Saturday afternoon in reference to a man not breathing. Bystanders had already pulled the man out of the water, and life-saving measures were unsuccessful. The man has been identified as 33-year-old Ricky Lee Hyde. His official cause of death is still under investigation. In Wilmington, one person is in custody following a shooting Sunday morning that sent 2 people to the hospital. Police say around 3 a.m., gunshots were heard in the area of Princess and Water Street. They found a 21-year-old suffering a gunshot wound who says she was shot by a female driving by. A second victim later arrived at New Hanover Regional Medical Center. Both victims have non-life-threatening injuries. 21-year-old Tatiana Green was arrested and charged with shooting from a vehicle and discharging a firearm in the city limits. She is being held without bond. Also in New Hanover County, several groups gathered in Wilmington over the weekend to celebrate a monumental part of history for Black Americans. The Juneteenth festival included music, food, Black art, and culture at the MLK Community Center. June 19, 1865 is the day soldiers landed in Galveston, Texas, and announced an end to the institution of slavery 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. This is the first time in 2 years the community was able to physically gather together to celebrate. And the town of Leland is celebrating the official opening of a new fire station. Station 53 on Old Landville Road has been open for a couple of weeks and is now Leland's third fully staffed fire station. It will help the town increase its public safety to keep up with continued growth in the area. Battalion Chief Chris Miranda says the station's location will allow firefighters to respond more quickly. For more on these stories, you can head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
Happy Monday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. It is the final day of spring in the northern hemisphere, and our temperatures are going to climb into the upper 80s, which is right where we should be for this time of year. Coastal areas will get into the middle 80s later today. Low humidity in store for us. Get outside at some point on this Monday. Low and risk rip currents for eastern and southern facing beaches. We're expecting plenty of sunshine and quiet conditions throughout the day today. And as for tonight, our temperatures fall down to the middle and the upper 60s. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by 2 Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to 2menandatruck.com. 2menandatruck.com.
I'm Trey Allen, conservative candidate for the North Carolina Supreme Court. As a Marine Corps veteran, practicing attorney, professor of law, and father of 5, I want to pass on the precious freedoms that we inherited to the next generation. For that to happen, we need judges who will faithfully apply our Constitution and our laws, not rewrite them to achieve specific outcomes. If you share my commitment to liberty, please vote Trey Allen in 2022. Paid for by Trey Allen for Justice.
I'm K.O. Davis from K.O.'s Coast to Coast Tree, and I want to be your tree man.
When your trees need cut, 2 letters to know. One is a K, the other is an O. K.O.
Tree man.
Proper trimming is the most important thing that you can do, so don't just hire anybody to do it. You need someone that knows what they're doing.
K.O.
Call the professionals at K.O.'s Coast to Coast Tree and visit KOTrees.com.
Enjoying Big Talker Network is as easy as asking for it. Program your digital home assistants such as Google Home, Alexa, and Siri to stream Big Talker Network content by simple voice command. Enjoy convenient hands-free access to program whenever you want, however you want, by asking for Big Talker.
Unpleasant.
Oh, yeah. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Asylum, your refuge right here in a world gone mad. I have a special guest, a special event, I don't even know what to call it. This is like historic. Mr. Chad Adams, welcome to the show this morning. I don't have your bit queued up. I had it earlier, and then I just lost it.
No, don't. I'm a guest on your show. It's different. Don't play my show stuff. This is your show stuff.
So how you been, man?
Special guest. Oh, pretty good. Finally getting to do a bit of traveling. I haven't been able to do any for months now. So it's good to get out and about, not too far from home, up in the western part of the state, and a long, long way from the flat elevation of the coast.
But you did abandon the children on Father's Day.
Well, yeah, somewhat. That's true. They're on their own. This is my second Father's Day without mine, so it's a bit of a mixed bag for me, obviously. But got out and to try to see some friends and did double duty on a couple jobs last week, and so finally out into when you're at the coast long enough, you miss the if you're normal. A lot of people are completely normal that don't like this, but you miss the sense of elevation with mountains and stuff like that. So it's nice to get away and go to the mountains where, it takes a lot longer to go 5 miles than it does in a straight line at the coast.
Well, that's why skiing is so popular.
Yeah.
If I want elevation, I want a reason for it. Whether it's downhill mountain biking or skiing or something.
Whitewater rafting, yeah. It was neat. Yesterday evening, right around sunset, was able to catch some of those elk in the mountains. They're not catch them physically, but they're so, they're not hunted, so they have no fear of humans, and they're just really close. Don't get too close because they're ginormous critters. You're used to seeing these white-tailed deer that, run away from you or get hit by your car. And then you see an elk and you realize the size of these things.
Yeah, it's like a ton.
They're massive. Oh, they're massive critters. Even the small ones are massive.
When I was in New Mexico as a young boy, or I can't say young boy anymore, I was on my honeymoon in Chama, New Mexico, just south of the Colorado border, in the mountains at a little cabin heading down the dirt trail to, grab some grub and what do they call that, red-eye sauce or whatever. And as we're driving down the road, an elk jumped over the fence on our right side, landed on the road in front of us, took 3 steps, and jumped over the fence on the left side. We're talking 14, 15 feet to get from where he was to in front of my car. And when he landed, I'm in like a 4x4 thingy to make it up the mountains, and it shook the entire car. These things are massive.
Big critters, man. And, elk, moose, these things are just massive. But in Western North Carolina, they've restored them, and so now there's quite a number of them. And at certain times in certain places, they're easy to see. So kind of neat out in the Cherokee area.
Now, I do have one question that's going to be more interesting, I think, to our listeners than any other. What's in your craw this week?
Oh, well, trying to decrawl, I guess, would be the way to say it.
So is it food? Is it shootings? Is it
no?
Is it drag queens reading children's stories? What's up?
It's almost like I wish if they would do policy from the national standpoint with a magic 8-ball, it would be better. It's like anything that they do, there's not even a chance that it's going to work. And instead of saying, maybe we need to stop doing this in reverse course, whether it's border security or whether it's foreign policy or whether it's, the way they look at oil and gas and the production therein and what we need to be doing, and then the constant blame. At a certain point, you can't take credit for all these things before you run for office, and then when they happen, try to get away from it and say, oh, it's not us, it's everybody else. And at a certain point, you do have an impact on it. Your policies have repercussions. And so we're in a mess. It's hurting people everywhere. I toured a bunch of factories last week and seeing the impact of that. These are people that are not political. They're out there working. They're trying to make ends meet. They've got families. They've got a career. They've been working in many places 10, 20, 25, 30 years. And, when they fill up their tank, it's a very different reality. And they just know it's bad. They're not involved in the day-to-day. They're not like me. They're not a policy wonk, political junkie like me. But they feel the impact, and they know something's wrong, and they know that it's not working.
They're just boots on the ground, right? They're just simple folks that are paying the bills. They don't have massive investments. They don't have 500 suits.
Right. And yet they know what's wrong, and they know where to point the finger, and they're doing that. And that's why this November, unless something dramatic happens between now and, say, Labor Day, I think the left in this particular instance is in serious trouble. I mean, I thought it would be 8 to 10 points differential, but it's looking to me like the differential may be even higher, which would be historic, worse than Obama's midterm elections where he lost 40, 50 seats in Congress. This could be a 60, 70 seat revolution.
Boy. That would be weird.
It'd be huge.
Now, if they were all adults, it wouldn't be a problem, right? I mean, if they all ended up...
Some of them will be. Luckily, some of them will be. But, yeah, a lot of them, it's unfortunate. D.C. creates a certain class of disconnectedness from the rest of us. And one of the things that would be good, I think you would agree with, is having a bunch of people who aren't from there, who haven't been there. At least that would give us a refresher in a lot of what this country is all about. It's not about D.C. It's about, all these other places that pay the bills and have to work hard every day.
And D.C. is not immune from the very issues that have popped up. Russ Hopton on the...
Russ Hauptman.
Yep, he just typed in on the Facebook checking in, it's going to be the 1994 elections all over again.
It could be. Russ may be accurate on that. I think, and that's what led to the Newt Gingrich revolution, which Bill Clinton realizing, hey, we need to take a different course, and actually signed welfare reform and signed a bunch of the contract with America aspects that Newt and the Republican conservatives, I'd say, that goes so far as to say they were very conservative back then, enacted. And it changed the course. It brought about this boom, the dot-com boom bubble, whatever you want to refer to it, but it really did lead to something. Now, the question, and Russ poses the reality of what's probably going to happen, but when you take it a few steps forward, you have to say, well, okay, will this administration have the intellectual capability or the will to actually get something accomplished? And that's where there's a difference. Clinton was extremely pragmatic, whether you hated him or liked him, and certainly, he has his detractors and should, rightfully so. It was a disaster personally, but he was practical enough to say, I want this to be successful. This administration, I think, is digging in deeper and deeper every day and will be intractable. That's the problem. Would they work with a new Republican majority in Congress and the Senate? And that remains to be seen. That's the distinction with a difference.
And intractable seems to make it a bit more realistic than something like we can sort of fudge around it.
Yeah. And that's
Russ popped in using intellectual and Biden in the same sentence.
Gotta watch it. I know
he's following you, boy.
Yeah, well, he's correct on that. Like I said, and I was going to dovetail what I had said previously with, it's not the guy that got allegedly elected that's in charge. He's not writing his own speeches. There doesn't seem to be a clear and concise Joe Biden at the helm. It looks like it's more chief of staff. It looks like it's more a collection of intractable lefties that don't have any culpability in all of this, that are putting Ron Burgundy in front of the teleprompter and saying, dance, monkey, dance. And that's the inherent danger here, is the people that are kind of running the show don't seem to care about the guy that fell off the bike this past weekend. And that's dangerous, too, because they don't seem to have the president's best interest at heart at all. This is an agenda without a leader right now. And it is an agenda that is not afraid of the electorate. It's an agenda that's not afraid to go astray. And that's a very scary scenario, especially when they're just that close to the guy. They're running the guy that allegedly is in charge.
Now, did you hear about what happened at the Go-Go Festival at the illegal or the underground Go-Go Festival in Washington, D.C. this weekend?
I did not, nor would I have wanted to have. Oh, you're talking about the absolute melee that broke out in our nation's capital that, showed this ruthless lawlessness that is pandemic throughout the country?
You mean the 15-year-old boy who was shot and killed, the officer shot in the leg, 2 others wounded?
Yeah.
At an unpermitted event that was sponsored by the, I think it was the State Department, they found out?
Yeah. You mean kind of like what happened with the Chop Zone in Seattle?
Yeah, the Washington, D.C.'s Department of Parks and Recreation boasted that it had hosted the Mochella event it described as a festival filled with gardening activities, craft building workshops, and live performances by local artists for students.
Nothing says peace and love like
bang, bang.
Breaking apart like that.
Happiness is a warm gun. Isn't that how the Beatles put it?
Yeah, the Beatles. That's a great one. Dude, I've got to run now. I've got my appliance repair folks, but we will be talking more this week, okay?
All right, man. Thanks for joining in, and we will see you probably tomorrow.
You will. Thank you so much. Have
Reserving your spot. See you soon. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the one and only Mr. Chad Adams from the Big Talker Network, a good friend of the station. That's a funny way of putting it, I guess. But yeah, there's a lot happening that he's far more aware of, and that's why I'm so looking forward to having him on the show this week, because, Andrew and Chad are more of the brain power, and even Yael and Paul Valone and Bill Moore and all these other cats. I'm just a tech, man. I just plug the cables together and download really bad news stories. Only because nobody else is going to read them to you, so I will. So as long as you're driving your kids to the daycare camp or band camp or whatever your travels are right now that bring the big talker to your ear holes. I mean, I'm just here making sure that you have an option, just like Fox did during the January 6th hearings. We want to give you options, right? So you're not necessarily stuck with everything else, because every other morning show has pretty much the same list of stories, saying the same crap, probably rehashing the same circle of talking heads, and that doesn't happen here. Mainly because, one, I'm too stupid, and I just don't... I look for the smart people to come in and say that stuff, because I don't know it. I mean, I'm still recovering from a nightmare of a gig Saturday night. I want to convey this one little part at the end of the night. It's a birthday celebration at this club. I don't know whose birthday it was or what birthday. It never told me. I mean, anyway. So, supposed to have a couple of bands. I'm running sound. We're having fun. At the end of the night, I'm supposed to have a DJ. First of all, full disclosure, not a fan. Do not consider DJs musicians, entertainers, or performers. I consider them people with a CD player that are bored and have no other entertaining skills whatsoever and have not applied themselves. Anyway, so Mr. DJ guy wants to plug into the system. I get him set up, da-da-da-da, no big deal. And then we start working, not to mention on, see what happens? You just threw me off there, Russ. So, anyway, we're setting him up. We got him sound. He's like, hey, mic stands. And I was like, wait, are you, like, oops, wrong window. I got to use this window. Are you doing karaoke is what I asked the guy. And he's like, no, I'm a DJ. Okay, what do you need a microphone for? Now keep in mind, the man is, I don't know, late 40s, early 50s, bit of a gut. You know, no six-pack abs. I mean, this man is not the cover of GQ in any way, shape, or form, right? In a baggy shorts and some flip-flops and some cutesy t-shirt, right? I mean, this is dad bod manifest. He turns to me and he said, I was thinking of doing some rapping. What are you going to rap about? Mortgages? I just don't see this guy, right? And there's only 4 people. Well, there's 12 people in the building, and like 8 of them are on staff. So there was nobody there. And I'm like, well, who are you going to... I guess you're just going to practice. I'm having fun with Russ. He's apparently speaking Portuguese now, and I'm learning a little bit of Portuguese, but it is not I already know like a lot of the Hispanic and culturally Hispanic languages, right? I mean, we just had a heck of a segment this morning from Andrew, which will be replaying on Facebook here in a minute, about 20 minutes. I'm talking about Latinos and Latinx or Latinx or whatever there's supposed to be a pronunciation scheme for that. I don't know. But apparently one of the largest and most diverse demographics, because we tend to, as white people in America, look at everybody else as other. Right? So when they were filling out the census data, and I thought this was hilarious, that a lot of these guys were like, I didn't see Ecuadorian on there, so I put other. I didn't see Chilean, so I put other. I'm not Hispanic, I'm Now, what's interesting, Russ, I mean, I haven't met you yet, and the fact that you have a history with the very building that I stole. Yes, I stole the Big Talker and installed it in my house. I'm learning Portuguese from people that live in Brazil. So it's a different type of Portuguese and definitely not Hispanic, but Portugal and Spain share the same chunk of like land jutting out into the water. And I have a theory that the Portuguese people were just for some reason pissed off at the Spanish. And they were all speaking the same language for a minute until somebody in Portugal was like, because like the word todo in Spanish means all. And it's spelled similarly in Portuguese and it's pronounced tudo. But it means the same thing. But if you say todo to somebody who speaks Portuguese, you could get hit with a flop in the face, like a flip-flop or a shoe or something. Because they don't speak Spanish, and they are quite adamant about that, and I fully appreciate that, right? I don't speak French, so if you come at a white guy speaking French, I'm going to be like, nah, bruh. I don't fly. So I'm trying to deal with the Iberian Peninsula. See? I am about as ignorant when it comes to that. I have never left the United States except for a couple of soirees in Mexico, down in Juarez, right? One time on tour back in, my God, this would have been late 80s. We ended up taking a little trip through Mexico because somebody did not believe the entertainment available in Mexico. I figured Brazilian Portuguese was way far. Brazilian is not Portuguese. Iberian Peninsula. Yeah, I thought it's a very similar language. There is some slang. There are some references. For example, from the Brazilian that I'm speaking to here, there's much of the language that's based in the Si bom dia, but I can't pronounce it quite right. Right. They have more of a G sound for some of their hard consonants. It's really weird. And I mean, Babylon, folks, everybody you're in America now. Speak English. Right? I mean, the rest of us white people get really confused. And what's interesting, I'm not necessarily bothered by it. But if there's a whole bunch of people speaking a foreign language, a lot of white people freak out because their paranoia immediately goes to, oh my God, they're saying something about me. And the thing is, my response is, don't flatter yourself. You're probably not that important to this person. Right? And if they're having some sort of animated reaction to a situation, unless you did something, it's probably not you that they're on about. But hey, if you're guilty, lace that shoe up and wear it. But the xenophobic folks that make up the American populace really has a hard time with any other language. Yeah, see, you're probably far more, what's the word I'm looking for? Not proactive, but interested, right? So part of my job with the Portuguese-speaking Brazilians that are here and friends of mine, I'm helping them with their understanding of English, which leads to some hilarious conversations. Because you want to assimilate. And that's been one of the things that if I could get the heck out of this country and, if I had the money and the ability to know that I'm not going to starve, right? That I can still get cigarettes wherever it is I happen to be. I'm sorry, I'm old, I smoke. I don't want to go to a country where cigarettes are illegal. I mean, that's just like, what, really? What are you going to do next? Ban salt? That's already started to happen in some places, but no. I would love to, learning Spanish because I lived in a Hispanic culture in New Mexico as a child. Our street was the one street of professionals. We had doctors like my dad and lawyers, and there was 4 doctors on this road. And then everything around us was socioeconomically depressed Hispanic, right? Because we didn't treat them well. We still don't, as far as the overall white population treating anybody else. By and large, we are not operating at our best selves, right? So go back about 40 years in New Mexico, and it's a different environment. But I learned Spanish because it was the only way this skinny little white kid was going to stay alive in a predominantly Hispanic neighborhood. That the socioeconomic strain of that, a relationship of putting rich white people in the middle of a depressed Hispanic predominantly Hispanic, socioeconomically depressed area. And it makes sense because the land was dirt cheap, so everybody could have a quarter-acre plot for dollars and build a really nice stucco home. Yes, I grew up in a mud hut, an actual adobe house, and the land was cheap. So the developer was like, "Yeah, I'll buy a whole chunk of this stuff and sell it to all the white people and make a bunch of money." I don't remember anybody on my street that wasn't a rich white professional as a kid. And then when my mom remarried and we moved into another neighborhood that was far more diverse, and there was far less Hispanics, but a lot more Hindu, Indian, Black, Oriental. It was really cool now going to school where it wasn't just Spanish that I heard. I heard some German. I heard some French. I heard some Lebanese or other, I don't know if I can identify the languages by sound, but the fact that there was more languages happening let me know that there was more worldly influence in my little town than I had first thought. And as, my mom and my parents anyway got to travel all over the country, right? They've been to France and they've been to Italy and Canada, and I can't even mention all. I don't know. I wasn't that lucky. But hey. Now, I'm not sure I can relate to this, Russ. 290 euro for health care. I didn't think you had to pay for health care. I thought that was part of your tax, and that your tax was like 80% or something ridiculous. 750 euro for rent. I don't think we're quite at 1-to-1, so it's hard for me to make that 25 to 30 euro for dinner for two with dessert and wine, which for me, if I did it with my girl and did it correctly, it'd be about 105. Really, it's that close. It's about 1-to-1. I mean, it's a nickel off. So you're saying dinner for two for $30 with wine and dessert? What, like Applebee's with a coupon? But it must be a different culture there because our restaurants are usually, the profit margin is still rather slim, but you're doing what you can, to get it by. And dinner for two with dessert and wine, I'm used to running like $60, $70. Unless, of course, and of course, in my luck, the attractive friend I had with me for dinner really enjoyed oysters, and those things aren't cheap. I think it was like a small Hyundai per oyster, and if you had like a Volvo station wagon, you get the entire dozen. It was pretty expensive. My humor sucks this morning because I'm still dead tired. I tell you what, Russ and I will be right back with more of the Asylum, and we'll see if my friend, see if my other guests can join us. So please take a moment, enjoy, give a call to our sponsors, let them know that you appreciate them sponsoring us, me, and the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad, will be back right after this.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. Foul play is not suspected in the weekend death of a Wilmington man at Carolina Beach. Officers were dispatched Saturday afternoon in reference to a man not breathing. Bystanders had already pulled the man out of the water, and life-saving measures were unsuccessful. The man has been identified as 33-year-old Ricky Lee Hyde. His official cause of death is still under investigation. In Wilmington, one person is in custody following a shooting Sunday morning that sent 2 people to the hospital. Police say around 3 a.m., gunshots were heard in the area of Princess and Water Street. They found a 21-year-old suffering a gunshot wound who says she was shot by a female driving by. A second victim later arrived at New Hanover Regional Medical Center. Both victims have non-life-threatening injuries. 21-year-old Tatiana Green was arrested and charged with shooting from a vehicle and discharging a firearm in the city limits. She is being held without bond. Also in New Hanover County, several groups gathered in Wilmington over the weekend to celebrate a monumental part of history for Black Americans. The Juneteenth festival included music, food, Black art, and culture at the MLK Community Center. June 19, 1865 is the day soldiers landed in Galveston, Texas, and announced an end to the institution of slavery 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. This is the first time in 2 years the community was able to physically gather together to celebrate. And the town of Leland is celebrating the official opening of a new fire station. Station 53 on Old Lanville Road has been open for a couple of weeks and is now Leland's third fully staffed fire station. It will help the town increase its public safety to keep up with continued growth in the area. Battalion Chief Chris Miranda says the station's location will allow firefighters to respond more quickly. For more on these stories, you can head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
Happy Monday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. It is the final day of spring in the northern hemisphere, and our temperatures are going to climb into the upper 80s, which is right where we should be for this time of year. Coastal areas will get into the middle 80s later today. Low humidity in store for us. Get outside at some point on this Monday. Low and risk rip currents for eastern and southern facing beaches. We're expecting plenty of sunshine and quiet conditions throughout the day today, and as for tonight, our temperatures fall down to the middle and the upper 60s. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
Lee Nails, located at 4956 Long Beach Road, Southport, is the place to pamper yourself. Steve and his staff of 5 are trained to do everything. They offer manicures of every kind. Pedicures include the deluxe, the special, the royal, the calming mud mask, and therapeutic wax dip. Other services include skin treatments and waxing. Lee Nails, open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 7, and Sunday, 11 to 5. Appointments and walk-ins welcome. Oh, but wait, they are having a special. Hurry in before June 16th to get 20% off. Lee Nails, 910-457-0837.
Enjoying Big Talker Network is as easy as asking for it. Program your digital home assistants such as Google Home, Alexa, and Siri to stream Big Talker Network content by simple voice command. Enjoy convenient hands-free access to program whenever you want, however you want by asking for Big Talker.
Hey, welcome back to the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad. Really not sure what happened there. That was pretty funny. Russ writing in with apparently the non-habitual residency tax thing for expats. This entitles us to pay 10% income tax for 10 years. Tax treaties prevent dual taxation, so a U.S. 12% tax would end up as 2% to U.S. and 10% to Portugal. Yeah, don't go nowhere. I mean, it's about to get interesting all up in here. I just got to find the number, because apparently there's a lot more numbers in here than I remember. I believe this is the one. We'll find out in just a moment. This is what happens. The music you're hearing is why I have GarageBand. But now it gets exciting because we have smart people on the phone. Mr. Valone, are you with us?
I am.
The GrassRoots North Carolina guest is with us. Host, sponsor, or excuse me, I got to get all this right because you wear a lot of hats. That would be the director, the producer, the host, director of the GRNC. What else is in that list?
Well, let's see. We got 3 nonprofit organizations we run. GrassRoots North Carolina being the main of those. Of course, we've got the Guns, Politics, and Freedom radio show. And I also run the Rules for Anti-Radicals website, where I'm selling copies of my book, Rules for Anti-Radicals, a practical handbook for defeating leftism.
So what's a vacation like for you?
What's that?
I was going to say, is that like a glass of beer and a football game?
Yeah, well, the funny part is I'm retired now, and I'm probably doing busier in retirement than I was when I was working.
And being paid just as well.
Yeah. Not by GrassRoots North Carolina. That one's all volunteer. Thank you very much.
That's what I was saying, that you were also a volunteer during your career.
Yeah.
You were able to
I've
pay
been,
your rent and your taxes, and that's about it.
Something like that.
So what's on the story this week? You had Father's Day happen yesterday, along with some craziness up in Washington, D.C., some go-go music festival. I didn't know what else you might have in your news cache.
Well, I think the biggest thing we're focusing on right now is still trying to kill this federal gun control that they're trying to ram down our throats. You may recall that after the Uvalde and Buffalo shootings, the portion of the Republican Party in the U.S. Senate that I call the Surrender Caucus decided to negotiate with Democrats to produce a so-called compromise on gun control. Well, of course, compromise, as our opposition defines it, is a process under which we might lose less than under their original proposal, but we still lose. And so Mitch McConnell, the Senate Minority Leader, tasked 10 Republicans to negotiate with 10 Democrats to produce a federal gun bill. Now, obviously, whatever they produce will pass like greased lightning through the House, because Nancy Pelosi's already passed any number of horrific anti-gun bills that will never see the light of day in the Senate. So these 10 Republicans, that's a significant number, because in the Senate, you need 60 votes for cloture to overcome a filibuster. The Democrats currently have 50. It's a 50-50 split. So if they get 10 Republicans, that gives them the 60 votes for cloture, and they can pass it.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah. This stuff is, there's some bad juju in there. The worst of which being essentially federal bribes for states to adopt so-called red flag gun confiscation orders.
Oh, that's never happened in
These
America.
are orders in which somebody gets you declared dangerous, and depends on who can do it it depends on which state. It could be, in some cases, a coworker or a neighbor decides he doesn't like you, so they go to
or an
a
ex.
judge. Yeah, oh, definitely an ex, okay, or a stalker. This has actually happened where stalkers have used this stuff to disarm their victims.
Oh my!
Yes, that has happened. As a matter of fact, roughly David Kopel of the Independence Institute testified to Congress that roughly 1/3 of these gun confiscation orders that are issued are actually spurious orders, and they're eventually 1/3 are eventually reduced. And he estimates that actually the rate of abuse is probably higher than that, because a lot of people don't have the money to fight one of them, and so they don't get it reversed. So in any case, what they do is they go to a judge and they hold an ex parte or emergency hearing you may not even know about, much less get a chance to defend yourself in court. And once they get one of these red flag orders against you, extreme risk protection orders, gun confiscation orders, whatever you want to call them, the first you may know about is when the sheriff shows up to confiscate your guns at your door.
Not necessarily to arrest you, just to take your guns.
No, they don't arrest you, which is one of the crazy things. Because if somebody is truly dangerous, do you really still want them on the streets? The idea that you're going to confiscate their guns and they're not going to do something else, like, I don't know, take a can of gasoline and a match and go, whoever got them declared dangerous, go light their house on fire.
Or drive a car really fast.
So in any case, and there are some other provisions in federal gun provisions that are bad news in this stuff as well. But the interesting thing is, the lead negotiator is John Cornyn, Republican out of Texas. He actually on Thursday night said, I'm through. He said, I'm done with these negotiations, because he doesn't want a red flag gun confiscation order, even though he's been negotiating this stuff. Well, he actually left the Senate recessed over the long weekend, this past weekend, and Cornyn went back to his native state of Texas, to the GOP state convention in Houston, where he was booed off the stage by his own party for participating, and they were screaming "No red flag, no gun control." It was pretty raucous. He called his own party, his own constituents, he called them a mob. Okay.
Wow.
The interesting thing is that even though Cornyn has backed off on this, our own Senator Tom Tillis, who is one of the 10 senators negotiating these red flag gun confiscation laws, is still hoping to get language through. Tom Tillis is still trying to negotiate gun control when many of his own party are opposed to it. So this week, on Friday, as a matter of fact, we're going to have a little tete-a-tete with the senator, or at least his district office. I doubt he'll attend, although I did write an open letter offering Senator Tillis an opportunity to address his constituents at his own district office in Raleigh on Friday at 10 a.m., where we will be picketing and holding a demonstration. We have been putting a lot of pressure on Tillis to split him off from this piece of legislation. If we can split him off with Cornyn, I don't think they'll have enough votes for cloture. I don't think they'll be able to do it. Now, in order to draw more attention to what we feel is the correct solution for these mass killings, we are bringing into the state a gentleman named Stephen Williford. Stephen Williford is the hero of Sutherland Springs, the man who stopped a church shooting at the First Baptist Church where 22 people, I think, were killed. He stopped it by shooting the perpetrator with his own, with an AR-15, with Stephen Williford's own AR-15. He shot him twice. The perpetrator got in a car and drove away. Stephen Williford found a good Samaritan who stopped and gave him a ride, and they chased the guy down so that he wouldn't commit mass murder elsewhere. And eventually, the guy crashed in his car and shot himself, ultimately. But Stephen Williford demonstrated that the only way, I mean, he is the quintessential good guy with a gun. The only way we're going to stop these mass killings is with armed self-defense. That provides both a deterrent to violent sociopaths who, quite frankly, avoid armed victims, and it also provides a means for stopping the shooter if he does actually perpetrate the crime. One of the things that I'm saying is that we should be using airport security as a model for our schools. We've instituted very tight security at airports. The rate of incidents in our airports is next to nil. And one of the things that we do in airport security and aviation security is we arm selected pilots under the Federal Flight Deck Officer program. Before I retired, I was a Federal Flight Deck Officer. I was authorized to fly armed. What they do is they do a background check. They send you to training with firearms and legal training, and then they federally deputize you. I am proposing exactly the same thing for teachers. Now, if this had been the case at Uvalde, where the police stayed outside while the killer was killing people for 78 minutes, I believe it was, at least those armed volunteer teachers, okay, could protect their children. The standard joke is that when seconds count, help is only minutes away, you know?
Right.
So we're holding this demonstration on Friday, June 24th, 10 a.m. I'm encouraging people to go to our site at grnc.org, and there is there's information about the demonstration on our website, grnc.org, and we're encouraging people to help us demonstrate to Senator Tillis that if he thinks he can get away with this, that ain't going to happen. He figures that because he got elected recently in 2020, and he doesn't have to run for re-election for 4 more years, he figures we'll forget. Well, that's not going to happen. The message we're delivering to Tom Tillis is that he only won his re-election bid by something like 1,700 votes. It wasn't very big. It was like 1.7%, something like that. And the gun vote made the difference. All right, we kind of held our nose and voted for Tom Tillis because we didn't want Senator Cal Cunningham. And quite frankly, what was at risk was the control of the United States Senate. If Tillis had lost his race, right now the balance would be 51-49. The Democrats would have all the votes they need to end the filibuster, because they only need 51 votes for that. And they would have had all the votes they need to pass any gun control they want, to pack the Supreme Court, anything they wanted to do. So Tillis was instrumental in the balance of power in the Senate. However, we will be quite happy to primary him in his next election if he doesn't get his act together and withdraw support from federal gun control.
So you think his vote in this issue is going to affect his ability to get reelected at the next term?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Quite frankly, and I know Senator Tillis personally. I knew him when he was in the North Carolina House of Representatives. I knew him when he was the Speaker, eventually became the Speaker of the House. I've offered to put demonstrations in his front yard before, and the reality is that he kind of like what they're doing to the poor Supreme Court justices now, only they're not politicians. They should not be exposed to anything like that. The independence of the judiciary is sacred, and what the left is doing by doxing Supreme Court justices is quite frankly criminal, literally criminal.
Yeah, exactly.
But in any case, Tillis knows that I will make a mission of his Senate re-election bid if he continues to support this federal gun control. So GRNC will make a mission of him, and we have the resources to do that. So
your
again,
flyer...
Friday, June 24th, 10 a.m. and grnc.org.
And how many is on your mailing list when you send out your slate cards?
When we send out which? It depends on what the project is.
The bigger one.
Our email list is, we can reach as many as 127,000 people across North Carolina.
And that's a significant number for an elected official to pay attention to in the state of North Carolina, because that's like 10% of our population, where there's only 10.5 million.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a pretty significant portion of just the right side, the conservative group.
Yep.
That if anybody wants to challenge Tom, I think now would be a good time to get the show rolling, huh?
I would agree. But I almost guarantee that if he continues on his present course, he's going to face a primary for his re-election bid. I can pretty much guarantee that.
Now, what would it take to get you in the primary?
People have asked me before if I want to run for office. The problem with me running for office is that, first off, I have this nasty habit of saying what I actually mean, which is not a long-lived characteristic for politicians.
It does make sure your friends are the right friends, but yeah, it would probably tank any political aspirations.
And plus, quite frankly, I tell people my goal is to be reviled in all the right places. I am quite certain I'm equally hated by both the Democrat leadership and the Republican leadership, because I do hold the Republicans' feet to the fire on a regular basis, just as we're doing to Senator Tillis right now. The last time we did this, as a matter of fact, was in 2013 when Senator Richard Burr had made an agreement, signed a letter saying that he would not vote for cloture on federal gun control at that point in time, and then reneged on that promise and actually did vote for cloture. So we put a demonstration in front of his district office. And he quickly cleaned up his voting behavior on the rest of that bill. So these are effective tactics, as Senator Cornyn just discovered when he went home to Texas and got booed off the stage by his own party. So
now, is some of this information in your new book?
Technique-wise, absolutely.
Yeah, that's because somebody else could do this.
Oh, absolutely.
Somebody in
Matter of fact,
Minnesota could buy your book and actually duplicate what you did with Senator Burr's time, and recreate it in their own state instantly.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, this time, Burr is also on the list of those 10 senators supporting gun control, but unfortunately, Burr is retiring this time around, and so he doesn't care what we think about him because he doesn't have to run for re-election.
Is his vote still going to count?
All that is the one. The Republican nominee for that seat is going to be Ted Budd, and Ted Budd is a true conservative. This guy's the real deal. And so at least when Burr leaves, it is likely, providing we can get Ted Budd elected to that seat and not Sherry Beasley, the Democrat who's a leftist. But if we can get Ted Budd into that seat, then we will replace Burr with somebody worthwhile.
Now, does Burr still get to vote before his term is over?
Oh, yes.
Oh, man.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I was going to say that does.
But the fact is, we've been. I like to think I've branded Tom Tillis in a way that will probably stay with him for the rest of his political career, however short we can make that. We have branded him Traitor Tom Tillis. Traitor Tom. And we branded Burr as Benedict Burr. So
now I do have a question from a listener here. Is this the same Sherry who is the elevator lady?
No, that's
Sherry Berry, right?
Sherry Killian Berry, I believe her name is. Yeah. No, Beasley is a former Supreme Court, North Carolina Supreme Court justice, and now running for the U.S. Senate.
Okay.
And he has a long record of espousing leftist causes, including gun control.
Well, that would be reason to keep them on the slate so that everybody knows exactly what's going on.
Yep.
Right? I mean, because you're putting out information on everybody, not just Republicans, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
In elections, our Remember November project covers all candidates for elected office, state and federal office across the state. The only thing we can't do is we can't cover all of the judicial races, and we can't cover all the municipal races because, quite frankly, there are just too many of them. But we intend to have a very robust Remember in November project this time around, and we will be there we go. Hang on just one moment.
Not a problem. I fight my computers every morning.
Yes.
Boom.
Yeah, there's Sherry Beasley there we go. Yeah. I want to make sure I had her first name correct. Yeah, it's Sherry, Cheri Beasley, Beasley, as opposed to Sherry Killian Berry, who is the elevator lady. She's a Republican, actually. So in any case, our Remember in November project, we're looking to get out 170,000 voter guides across the state of North Carolina, rating or evaluating all candidates on a 0 to 4-star evaluation system. A 4-star candidate is expected to agree with a control group of our own life and benefactor members at least 90% of the time, 3 stars, 80%, and on down the list. Again, all that information will be available at grnc.org.
And that's why you do it. It is important to you.
Well, I mean, the bottom line is we are trying to elect legislators who believe in the Second Amendment, who support the Second Amendment. And unfortunately, they learned after the 2020 elections when the Democrats lost, they learned to camouflage their agenda by saying, well, I support the Second Amendment, but, okay? There's always that but. And after the but, come the words that negate everything they said when they said they supported the Second Amendment. I support the Second Amendment, but I believe all guns should be registered and all gun owners should be licensed. So our own Attorney General, as a matter of fact, just did a PBS interview. This is Josh Stein, Democrat leftist Josh Stein. just did an interview with PBS calling for all sorts of gun control, and including passing a red flag law here in North Carolina. So these bills have been introduced. If the federal legislation passes, there will be a significant motivation for states like North Carolina to adopt these red flag gun confiscation orders. This is very dangerous.
I can imagine. Man, that's a lot of information. So people, if you're having trouble, concoctinating all of this data, grnc.org is going to be the repository to help straighten this out. And any questions you have, there are email links to get directly to Paul to help answer any questions you might have, because this is, a lot of this is obfuscation on part of the politicians who are doing their best to stay in power and maintain an employment that requires no actual marketable skill or intelligence.
And by the way, if they go to grnc.org, there's a big red stop sign at the top of the page. It says, "Call Senate ASAP, stop gun control now." If they click on that, it will take them to one of our legislative alerts, and there are links to the staffers for Tillis where we are directing the input. Normally, the congressional representatives use a web contact form. They don't give you email addresses. However, we're bypassing Tillis's web contact form because we have the email addresses for 4 of his staffers. So we are burying them in email. And the way we structure our legislative alerts, okay, we know that this is a difficult process and people have, competing demands on their lives. So we make it very easy for you to respond in just 2 or 3 minutes. What you do is you open that alert. The links for the staffers are there. You click on the link for each one of the staffers, and it takes you to a pre-completed message form.
Wow.
All you have to do is sign it, okay? And
that's pretty convenient.
A minute. Oh yeah, it's designed to be, to allow people with busy lives to make their voices heard in just a couple of minutes.
And I like the
you
turnaround.
Can change that message if you choose to.
I like the turnaround. Because if you think about it, how many of us are getting bombarded by every politician on the planet with a form letter saying, "Vote for me because I am special"? I think it's awesome to turn around and bomb them with form letters.
And by the way, right below that stop sign for the legislative alert, there is another graphic that gives you the details for the June 24th demonstration at Tom Tillis's district office, which is at 310 New Bern Ave in Raleigh. And if you click on that link, that'll give you everything you need to come to the event. And we do encourage people to come to the event. We're looking for strong turnout. Stephen Williford will be there. He will be addressing the crowd. People can get an opportunity to hear from and meet the hero of Sutherland Springs who stopped a mass killing with his own AR-15.
Man, what a great way to finish out the show on Monday. It's 10 o'clock. I'm really glad to have you back on this morning. We've had a couple of weeks on vacation, a couple of technical weeks. Now we got a nice show rolling. GRNC is now part of the fam. This is pretty sweet.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And we'll do it again Monday, and you're always welcome to call in on the funky number on the screen. Don't forget.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a one-way street. You can call us anytime.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And with that in mind, I have to let Yael's show start. And with that in mind, oh, come on, computer. There it is. There's the fancy, funky, fun music. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for another wonderful Monday here on the Asylum. Stay tuned for Consumer Choice Radio with Yael Osowski and David Clement. And we have other shows rolling throughout the day, so please don't go nowhere. The Asylum is your refuge in a world gone mad. See y'all tomorrow.
Keeping Charlotte informed. The Big Talker 106.7 FM WFBT, Carolina Beach.
Folks, you know you're all looking for that special gift. Lines are long, traffic is frustrating, supply chains in the news. Just take a deep breath. If you're anywhere near Oak Island, come by Seaside Jewelers, 8801 East Oak Island Drive. Avoid the traffic, the lines, the frustration, and get that extraordinary and special gift. From high-end diamond rings to Larimar, from necklaces to bracelets, watches, and unique jewelry. And you also get one-on-one service with their experienced staff. Great prices now just in time for the holidays. Come by and check out Seaside Jewelers, 8801 East Oak Island Drive.
Wake up to Good Morning Carolina, weekdays at 5:30 a.m.
And good morning, Carolina. It is a very busy news morning today. I'm Donna Gregory.
And I'm Jeff Rivenbark. We're glad you're starting your Tuesday with us.
Be prepared and ready to go for the day ahead.
For the time being, we are dry and quiet, but we are dealing with some patchy fog.
And catch up with the overnight news you need.